The word pranayam is made of two roots, prana and ayama. Prana means vital energy or life force, which is called Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, in Vedas, Upanishads, Tantra, Yoga, and Buddhist texts, which enables body to live and exist. Prana is more subtle than air or oxygen. Ayama is defined as extension or expansion. These two words combined together make the word pranayam, which means, through certain breathing techniques, the extension or expansion of life force. The practice of pranayam is a gift from ancient sages to mankind. It is a very powerful tool which establishes regular breathing patterns, taking control of the breath and re-establishing the natural, relaxed rhythms of the body and mind. Irregular breathing disrupts the rhythms of the brain and leads to physical, emotional and mental blockages, resulting to illnesses. Pranayam removes the blockages, cleanses and purifies the nadis, energy channels, activates and balances the chakras, heals and nourishes grows as well as subtle bodies consisting of 5 koshas. The chakras, the circular energies of light that regulate the physical body and await spiritual activation. The nadis, subtle energy streams or conduits that interact with the chakras and the physical body. These convey prana, or subtle energy, to cleanse the physical body and invite the kundalini upward through the chakras. In scientific terms, these could be seen as force motion lines. The primary nadis involved in the kundalini rising are the sushumna, or nadi central, in the spine, the IDA, which is on the left side of the spine and represents feminine energy, and the pingala, which is on the right side of the spine and signifies male energy. As the kundalini arises through the sushumna, the IDA and pingala coiled around the nucleic 7 chakras activate the chakras, the energy bodies, the 3 basic energy bodies, gross, subtle and causal body that contain the human and spiritual dimensions. The koshas, veils of energy that confine the spirit or essential self. These 5 sheaths lift as an initiate evolves physically, mentally, spiritually, and energetically. Nadis are technically channels of energy and are so closely associated with chakras and the kundalini process that they can really only be understood in relationship to them. The word nadi comes from the Sanskrit root nad, which means movement. According to the most ancient Hindu scripture, the Rig Veda, nadi means stream, an appropriate term since the nadis transport various subtle energies throughout the body. In this role, they operate like channels, or a delivery system, for the chakras, to help clear and manage the physical system and to play a vital role in the rising of Kundalini. The first mention of the nadis was in the earliest Upanishads written in the 7th to 8th centuries BC. The ideas were developed in the later Upanishads and the Yoga and Tantra schools. Nadis are often compared to the traditional Chinese meridian system. Both distribute energies and interact with the chakras. There are several differences, however. Most traditional Chinese medical systems work with 12 major meridian pathways. There are many more nadis than this. The first Upanishads suggested 72,000 nadis, and others indicate that there are anywhere from 1,000 to 350,000 nadis. The ancient text, the Shiva Samhita, asserts the higher amount. Most systems, however, including Ayurveda and the Tibetan tradition, agree on about 72 different nadis. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, there are 72,000 nadis emanating from the heart only. In yoga theory, nadis carry prana, life force energy. In the physical body, the nadis are channels carrying air, water, nutrients, blood and other bodily fluids around and are similar to the arteries, veins, capillaries, bronchioles, nerves, lymph canals and so on. In the subtle and the causal body, The nadis are channels for so-called cosmic, vital, seminal, mental, intellectual, etc. energies, collectively described as prana, and are important for sensations, consciousness and the spiritual aura. Yoga texts disagree on the number of nadis in the human body. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Goraksha Sanhita quote 72,000 nadis, each branching off into another 72,000 nadis, whereas the Shiva Sanhita states 350,000 nadis arise from the navel center, and the Katha Upanishad 6.16 says that 101 channels radiate from the heart. All nadis are said to originate from one of two centers, the heart and the kanda, the latter being an egg-shaped bulb in the pelvic area just below the navel. The Ida and Pingala nadis are sometimes in modern readings interpreted as the two hemispheres of the brain. Pingala is the extroverted, active, solar nadi and corresponds to the right-hand side of the body and the left-hand side of the brain. Ida is the introverted, lunar nadi and corresponds to the left-hand side of the body and the right-hand side of the brain. There is a contralateralization. These nadis are also said to have an extrasensory function, playing a part in empathic and instinctive responses. The two nadis are believed to be stimulated through different pranayama practices, including nadi shodhana, which involves alternately breathing through the left and right nostrils, which would theoretically stimulate the left and right sides of the brain respectively. The word nadi comes from the Sanskrit root nad meaning channel, stream. Special breathing techniques are practiced to influence the flow of prana within these nadis. According to this interpretation, these techniques purify and develop these to energetic currents and may lead to the awakening of Kundalini. Ida is associated with lunar energy. The word Ida means comfort in Sanskrit. It has a moon-like nature and feminine energy with a cooling effect. It courses from the left testicle to the left nostril and corresponds to the Ganges river. Pingala is associated with solar energy. The word Pingala means orange or tawny in Sanskrit. Pingala has a sun-like nature and masculine energy. Its temperature is heating and courses from the right testicle to the right nostril. It corresponds to the river Yamuna. The Ida and Pingala nadis are often seen as referring to the two hemispheres of the brain. Pingala is the extroverted, solar nadi and corresponds to left hemisphere. Ida is the introverted, lunar nadi and refers to the right hemisphere of the brain. Ida nadi controls all the mental processes while Pingala nadi controls all the vital processes. Sushumna interpenetrates the cerebrospinal axis, and in Swara Yoga is associated with both nostrils being open and free to the passage of air. The lunar channel Ida is pale in color and located on the left side. It is associated with feminine attributes, the moon and an open left nostril. The solar channel Pingala is red in color and located on the right side. It is associated with masculine attributes, the light of the sun, and an open right nostril. Sushumna connects the base chakra to the crown chakra. It is important in yoga and tantra. In Raja Yoga or Yoga of Patanjali, when the mind is quietened through the yams, niyamas, asanas and pranayam, the important state of pratyahara begins. A person entering this state never complains of dispersion of mind. This is characterized by observing the movements jerks in Sushumna in the subtle body. The koshas constitute layers, or veils, that operate at different levels, always circling ever outward from the inner self. These 5 layers or sheaths of consciousness are usually depicted as originating with the most material kosha and transcending to the most ethereal. An alternative view is that the koshas emerge from the highest vibratory or spiritual state, or the blissful level, and then shift toward the most material level. While the energies shift from subtle to material, the material then climbs again to subtle. Thus, the koshas can be viewed as constantly operating on both a microcosmic and macrocosmic level. Every energy system includes energy bodies beyond the chakras, some so numerous it is hard to count them all. In the classical Hindu system, there are three basic energy bodies, which interface with five sheaths or koshas that relate to the different levels of reality. Let's look at these dimensions and see how they relate to the overall Hindu system. The Taittiriya Upanishad describes five bodies or sheaths called koshas that cover or contain our higher consciousness. The koshas are contained within three bodies of incarnation, subtle energy bodies that govern different levels of development, and the koshas. The koshas constitute layers or veils that originate with the material body and transcend to the ethereal realms. You could picture them as circles that shift ever outward. Evolution from one kosha to another occurs as the kundalini rises through the chakras, which itself happens as one evolves from being primarily physical to becoming spiritual. This progression to enlightenment occurs with concentration on the most ordinary of matters, such as eating, breathing, movement, and mindfulness, as well as emphasizing your higher wisdom. There are three bodies of incarnation, sariras, that correlate with the koshas. These are times the gross body, sthula sarira, or physical body, which is composed of the five elements, times the subtle body, sukshma sarira, that holds the chakras and the nadis, times the causal body, karana sarira, the vehicle for our soul. The following description of the koshas is subdivided according to these three bodies of incarnation. Some systems, however, call the subtle body the astral body and teach that the gross body holds the first kosha, the astral contains the second, third, and fourth, and the causal, the fifth. In this view, the astral body connects to the physical body by a thin thread, which some traditions call the silver cord. When this is a description of the koshas and their placement within the three bodies, their progression as introduced earlier in this section, and the key traditional methods and contemporary measures used to evolve through each kosha. Annamaya kosha, sheath of matter. Basic description: the cellular body. As we become aware of our physical body, we establish our foundation in the sthula sarira, or tangible body, which is sustained by food. Therefore, proper fueling from food is the chief medicine for the body's ailments. All koshas are sustained by the Hindu traditional elements. Traditional tools, the asanas, or physical movements, including hand gestures known as mudras, and diet. This kosha is the impetus for the emphasis on diet in Ayurveda, the yogic system of medicine. Contemporary methods, in addition to exercise, methods include eating healthfully, using air and water as cleaners or filters, and exploring the energetic and physical healing practices found throughout this book. Pranamaya kosha, sheath of vital air, or prana. Basic description: the mental body. This sheath supports mental and psychic activity and personal consciousness. Sometimes considered the location of the nadis. Many systems place the chakras in this kosha. In Ayurveda, this kosha is associated with air and the dosha called vata. Doshas are further described in Ayurveda in part 6. After focusing on the body, we focus on the breath. Traditional tools usually involve a breathing discipline, and tools such as outlined in Patanjali's 8-step method of yoga on page 271. The goal is to activate the 5 forms of Vata or Vayu air. Common Nadi development techniques include the asana, meditation, breath work, visualization, mantras or chanting, and bodily cleansing. Contemporary methods, all of the above, including the practical use of air purifying machines in office and home and the use of any rhythmic tool, sound, music, and so on, to assist in establishing rhythmic breath. Manomaya Kosha, sheath of mind basic description, centered on mental functioning, the dramas in our minds, and the nervous system. Focuses on understanding and getting control of the 9 different moods or rasas, in other words, our tendencies toward depression, worry, anxiety, distraction, mental chatter, and the like. In Ayurveda, this kosha is affiliated with the dosha pitta and its element, fire. It shuts down during sleep. Traditional tools, breath work, meditation, use of mantras or chants, visualization, sensory withdrawal. Contemporary methods, all the traditional tools as well as the use of mental health therapy, energy release tools like emotional freedom technique, EFT, or other healing processes as described in Part 6. Vijnanamaya Kosha, sheath of knowledge, or wisdom, basic description. Wisdom is knowledge beyond sensory perception. Here sits the intellect, buddhi, and the sense of self, ahamkara. In this sheath, we make the leap from ego understanding, which involves being stuck in time and space, to pure consciousness. Traditional tools, cultivation of detachment, which is available only after we have harmonized the first 3 bodies. This takes observation without emotion. Contemporary methods, study of the 0 point and other universal fields to assess one's place in the universe. Also, understanding of the observer phenomenon, the observer affecting the outcome. The causal body Anandamaya Kosha, sheath of bliss or soul self basic description. This is more a state than a place, in which we realize the non-dualistic consciousness, the meeting of Shakti and Shiva in the 7th chakra and ascent to enlightenment. At this point, many Hindu believe that one can arrest bodily aging and activate the Siddhi powers. This sheath is related to the causal body, which is also called the seed body. Think of an acorn. It contains the codes and blueprints for the oak tree. In the same way, we have always held the secrets to our own self-realization, but have not fully grown into the true self. The causal body holds these seeds, including karmic issues, those we need to work through to grow and change. Traditional tools can be achieved through yogic development and raising the kundalini, as well as selfless service, focus on the divine, and intensely focused meditation. Contemporary methods, the above, as well as learning how to set and live one's intention.
5 Vayus, airs. The basis for the practices of pranayama is pranamaya kosha, sheath or body of pranic energy, which is made up of 5 major pranas which are collectively known as the pancha or 5 pranas, prana, apana, vyana, udana and samana. 1 is prana. Prana is first form of prana, life force. It is the force by which the breath is drawn inside. Inhaling breath is called prana. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, prana is established in apana. 2 is apana. Apana is the second form of prana. Apana is concerned with the expulsion of waste from the body. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, apana is established in vyana. 3 is vyana. Vyana is the third form of prana. Vyana is the cause of physical strength, stamina and immunity. Vyana acts as the reserve force for the other pranas. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, vyana is established in udana. 4 is udana. Not udana is fourth form of prana. It controls the area of the body above the neck, activating all the sensory receptors as the eyes, nose and ears. This is udana which takes one into samadhi. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, udana is destined to merge into samana. 5 is samana. Samana is the fifth and ultimate form of prana. When prana charges its form into samana, it becomes divine itself. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Samana itself is called as Neti Neti, not only this, in other words infinite.
Neti neti also means neither this nor that. Three aspects of pranayam: 1. Purka or inhalation; 2. Rechaka or exhalation; 3. Kumbhaka or breath retention. There are following three types of kumbhaka: 1. Antar kumbhaka or internal breath retention; 2. Bahir kumbhaka or external breath retention; 3. Kevala kumbhaka or spontaneous breath retention, advanced stage of pranayam which occurs during high states of meditation.